Yeah, so as Peter said, my name is Rachael Corcoran. I work with EY. So I, just by way of background, I too have I studied in NCAD visual communications, so creative background. So it's my zeitgeist because design thinking and all things innovative. I can work in corporate organizations now, which is great. So I started out when I graduated, I worked for a lot of digital media companies, and that's, like, I know you won't believe this, but it was when digital was only beginning. So like it was kind of cutting edge, technology at the time. So working with a lot of kind of large organizations, both here in the UK. And then I went on to work for different software companies. So they were actually fintechs and startups, even though the word fintech hadn't actually been coined at the time. So we were developing software for different financial institutions, and I believe some of the software that we developed is still in Bank of Ireland at the moment. I met somebody last year and they've no idea how it works, so they can't get rid of it. So it's fundamental to the day-to-day, but it was on the whole multi-channel banking side. And the guys then who had set it up, actually it was a really successful venture. I think it sold for 130 million, which was a lot of money then, to Oracle, Siebel and then Oracle. So I went through into the corporate world, and then the guys had set up another new company, which I went and worked for them again. So it's called the Conversation Hub Iconic. So that was really on the front end of, so I suppose coming from that side of things, I could really see, what was the essence of a startup and the challenges. And I think, somebody was talking earlier about being too soon. And the last company I was with, I think they were nearly too soon for so long. And it's so hard for fintechs and startups because you can have a brilliant idea, but the industry, because you're ahead of your time, they're not actually ready for you yet. So you have to wait, and your investors are getting fed up and whatever. So, so it is challenging from that side, but then you can really see, I suppose, the pioneering mindsets. And, as we all know, the fintechs are really looking at the niche areas of opportunity within the marketplace. So then I went on to move into professional services. So I'm with EY at the moment, and people kind of go, how are you creative background and you work for an accounting firm? But they actually do advise you in different things. So it's not creative accounting, as loads of people have a great joke with me about. So accounting and me do not mix, or Excel spreadsheets. But yeah, so I suppose I can see we would work with a lot of in EY, the large organisations, and banking and insurance, and I've also worked a lot in the media because I have a media background, and so like the likes of RT or whatever, but like big organisations that really struggle to be innovative. So I'm coming at it from both sides, and I think that's where my presentation will have a look through to see what how you can capture the essence of a startup, and then what the challenges of big organizations are. So in EY, we always say, asking the right questions. And like I was talking to the guys earlier that, the right questions are actually really, really simple ones. It's like why, and then what, and then how. So I think one of actually the, in big organizations, one of the things you really need to ask is why not? Because when you ask the why and the what, but then, you're going, oh, we always do it this way, and we did it this way before, but it's like, why not do it differently? Why not do it this way? So the why not. So I'm going to bring you through some of these questions here. Now, I know I'm the last speaker up, and I was saying, I hope there's something that I can say that's new, but it might be actually serve as a summary to what's been said before. And if you have your bingo card out of innovation jargon, you can fill it in my speech. It was basically why innovate, because when, from the time that we've been in this room, from the time even before we'd hit the first break, there was so many startups that came and went, because things, you start up and, they can very quickly go. New technologies have been invented. So it's really that the world is moving very, very fast. And as we're sitting in here, and as big, large organizations, if we don't take the opportunity now, somebody's going to catch and eat our dinner, as somebody was saying, and the dessert and whatever else. So why innovate? Yes, as I was saying, so it's already, disruption is happening inside and outside the industry. And so just say for financial services, it's happening within there, but also on the outside, because customers' expectations are being shaped outside of all of our organizations. So like Netflix, things are being served up to you, from using personal segmentation, so they get to know me, they know what I want, they're giving me back to me all the time. So like even for financial services, why do you not know me more? Why can't you tell me what the best products are for me? I shouldn't have to be going looking for things. So tomorrow, another competitor will be targeting your customers, and there's the whole GAFA bank thing with Google, Amazon, Facebook. So it's not even the people that you think are your competitors now, they're going to be different tomorrow. Your customers are changing quicker than you are. And then also disruption it's because it's change, there's an opportunity there. So why not take that opportunity and use it to your advantage? And start now to create the organisation of the future. And that comes into the whole kind of employee capability, your way of working. And then on the employee engagement, from my experience, like creating an innovative mindset and that kind of acceptance of change, like saying you can fail, is actually really, really beneficial to a company's culture. We did a recent, and people can look it up online, but on the FinTech survey, Ireland is actually 7th in terms of the FinTech adoption, and that's globally, so that's really high. So like we're not just talking on a global level, like Ireland is actually really picking up on the whole, the FinTech space. And then if you look at one website there, so that's HSBC. And you can see just as an example of where the fintechs are taking out in kind of those niche areas. So like whether it be payments or lending or, communications, transactions. So they're all targeting like those specific areas. And then this brings us into the whole new ecosystem that, banks can avail of rather than developing things from the inside. And I know they can, but, you can align with other fintechs, and that does bring its own opportunities. I hope you're not going to say 3 minutes now, are you? Because I feel like I've already started. Okay. So what is innovation? So I thought there's been very little talk of technology here. So you think what's innovation? People are going to talk AI, robotics, whatever. And it is those things. But really, it's the blend of the human and the technology. So we have on the technology side, you can take different approaches. So you can have what's the business need, and it should be driven by that. Or as some of the other organisations like Citi have innovation hubs for experimentation, and like the largest, so IBM or whatever, they're going to have like loads of money invested and just kind of let's try, and then see what's viable. And then so are an ecosystem with technology partners. And then on the human side of things, it's very much on the culture, capabilities and mindsets. And I think where I'm coming from is like I have a creative background, as does Carl, but sorry Alan, so we have creative backgrounds, so we kind of maybe have problem solving, thinking outside the box, blue sky thinking, whatever else you want to say. But it's like, how do you help an organisation to be innovative and to teach that? And I do actually think you can get there in some regard. So on the human side as well, if you're doing things to people, there's not going to be very much acceptance. So it's to try and bring people along on the journey, as Carol was saying earlier. So and accepting the new technologies, because a lot of new technology programs are brought to here and then forget about all the people that have to use it. So it's having the new ways of working, and then empowerment and ownership. So before I went and looked at why, how to innovate in large organisations, I looked at why innovation fails in large organisations, and that's kind of from my startup fintech background as well. And the way I see it is, I like the burning platforms, burning desires analogy. So your burning platforms, and to date really has been very much on the regulatory space. And so for example, 60 to 80% of technology spends in large organizations is usually on regulatory, because they have to do it, because, the regulators are, increasingly more digitally enabled and looking for more information. So, but then there's the burning desires. So it could be better, improved customer satisfaction. It could be, better interfaces with the customers, whatever that is. But ultimately, so now with open banking, people are now looking towards what was the burning desires soon becomes their burning platform, because now they have to look at the front end, they have to look at how they're going to interface with their customer. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but why it can fail. I know there's there's hubs and they're different. But on the day-to-day, business takes priority, the management's commitment may be lacking, the innovation is something new, and then people don't often like something new. And then also it's not called out as a measurement, and I think that would be key. So I think, just to summarise, it's really the capabilities, the culture, the methodologies and the motivation within the organisation, and I'll come to those now. So just before I drill down to those, there's like the organisational levers, and I said, and it's been said before, that culture is huge. C-level sponsorship is also extremely important, and it won't, innovation or nothing really will happen without that. the aligning and orientation, and I see it like a lot that different parts of the organisation are working at odds with each other. So it really has to come from the top and everybody to be aligned on it. Measurables. So if you have a measurement, so within an organisation that one of your SLAs, your service level agreement is you have to do this by this amount of time, but actually you're not creating space for innovation, well then you're never going to be innovative. So you need to have a look at your measurements. And then on the behaviour, and the behaviour again comes from the top. Both C-suite and your executive committee have to demonstrate the behaviours that you want the rest of the organisations. So if they're always saying, we always do it this way, just do it that way, everybody else is going to do that. So you need to demonstrate those behaviours. So in terms of setting up for success, and again, this is not about the hubs, it's just within the entire organisation. So make sure it's aligned with business strategy if it's part of your value and your purpose. So empowers staff, and I think staff empowerment and ownership is really key, because if you have a great idea, and a company I worked with recently, we were looking to simplify across the organisation. So we're looking for loads of ideas of how to simplify, but nobody knew who owned this part of the process, who to go to. So it's never going to get anywhere. Creating a community as well within the organisation. So if you have things that are community based, work better. That's why the credit unions always work so much better than banks. So no, just in customer experience, that's all. There was just a survey done today and they came out better. So the managing change, look, I'm not going to go through all of this, and then it's kind of how do startups succeed. So again, smaller, less hierarchical, internally well connected. Again, the collaboration's been talked about an awful lot here. And then so the cultural factors, like more risk appetite. Just one thing I will call out here is on the controls, where I see that, again, highly regulated organisations, they have to have, they've built up this culture of controls, and sometimes I see that it's over control, that there's too many there. And actually, if you did an assessment in an organisation of the controls that were there, a lot of them aren't necessary, and it's stopping the organisation being simplified and also being agile, because every time you do something, you've got to talk to so-and-so in compliance, you've got to talk to, no, you have to do this, and you have to run this by the review board or whatever, and oftentimes it's not necessary, it's just there because, for legacy reasons. So just some innovative techniques again on the change should be experienced, not managed. So I'm not going to go through all this, I'm sure we'll share the slides afterwards, 3 minutes. And then the fail fast to learn. So if that's on, because everybody's talking about failing fast. And then going and doing. Again, with the recent project that I did, we were very keen to demonstrate the benefits and that we were actually going to do things with the innovative ideas that were gathered. So we gathered them through an innovative interface. People were able to see them, and then we were able to say, okay, this, and communicating that back out, because people need to see that you're actually going to do stuff about it. So this is just an example of how you can create an internal ecosystem. So, and this is again something that I had put together for one of the firms that I was working with. And so it was an innovation hub that was part of the organisation. So it had a strong leader at the centre that had just like me or Alan or whoever, but had those kind of innovative capabilities, and what they needed to do was go and bring the capabilities throughout the rest of the organisations up. So they did that through bringing the capabilities up. They created a community with a hub and spoke. So again, you need to bring the rest of the organisation along with you, and if you have a hub and spoke that you are involving one person from each of the different departments in that community, you bring them in, you teach them the methodologies, the techniques, and then they go back out into the organisation. They've experienced the benefits, they know what to do, and they can go back into the organisation. One of the key things I found was the steering, because we had the CEO on the steering, because this was one of his projects, and that overcame any silos, because you can find somebody in finance is again somebody in digital, whatever. You need a cross-functional team as part of the steering. And then on the motivation as well, so motivating the right behaviours and the reward. Now motivation takes 2 types. It can be reward or can be penalties or KPIs, so you have to do it, but you'll be rewarded for doing it. So, and then in terms of the methodologies then as well, so creating a set of artifacts that the rest of the organisation can use as they go on. So just in terms of then some organisations because with the legacy systems and I suppose legacy capabilities are looking at setting up a new co. So this is where they would actually be a completely separate entity to the organisation and drive out new propositions very quickly. I suppose some of the benefits of that, it's been minimum IT investment and no legacy systems, minimum controls, very flat structure, agile, and then the speed to market is very quick. But then the question is, what happens to the larger organisation? And then how do you bring the key functions with you? Because you will need compliance or finance at some stage. And you say, oh, I need you now. And they say, no, you didn't come to us 6 months ago. You know, you can go it yourself. And then in terms of the customer data and contacts. So this is where people are looking at this. I haven't seen it done successfully yet, but the idea would be that the smaller organisation would eat the bigger organisation ultimately. So just to finish up then, so how it benefits. So creating an innovative mindset within the organisation. So if you give people asking the right questions, asking why not, saying, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? Who do you go to solve it? You will actually simplify the organisation. And like there's so many complexity. And what I said actually at my recent engagement was that people have been extremely innovative because they thought of these outlandish workarounds to the work. Like they wanted to get the work done and they were really innovative because, well, we'll do it this way and we'll go around and we'll do this and whatever. And like, you know, they weren't able to get a straight path through. So they're very innovative in coming up with that. So, and like they are already being innovative, but just get them innovative for the right purpose. It does give you a capability uplift. I think in terms of agility, if you wanted to bring a new product or proposition to market tomorrow, you're going to be further along the road than you would be otherwise. Your improved NPS, you're going to have better customer experience scores. Your employee NPS, so a better employee engagement. And then I think the culture, because, you know, like for getting new staff in the future and for retaining the staff that you have, I think it's it's definitely going to have like an impact on all of those things. So that's it for me. So I hope I didn't repeat myself too much. So thanks.